Hello everyone, today is 7th of February, now it's 10:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. Although before I start, let me make a few announcements in regards to schedule and programming on this project. First of all, let me tell you that this Sunday I would not be able to make a live stream or community chat, as we call it, for objective reasons. And next week, I suppose I will have opportunity to explain this reasoning. That's first announcement. And the second is that from now on, I will try to publish on daily basis on YouTube and Rumble channels some short clips from main news updates. First news update that is published on YouTube and Rumble, at least for now, and from second news update that usually is published on Patreon and Boosty. So I will have 3, 4, 5, maybe even more short clips on daily basis on YouTube and Rumble. First update will stay on YouTube and Rumble for time being, but I guess after a week or two I will move first update also on Patreon and Boosty. And if anyone would want to have access to full show, they can subscribe to my page on Patreon or Boosty, and they will have access not just to news updates, but full news updates, but also to some additional content that I already have there, and will make more in the future, because these changes, I guess, will allow me to have a little bit more free time to focus on some other projects also, to make some other content, not necessarily about news and politics, but some other interesting stuff. And there is so much to tell, isn't it? And so yes, this is second announcement. Hopefully it will work and boost our communities on Patreon and Boosty, because support from Patreon and Boosty definitely keeps this project alive, right? I'm truly grateful for everybody who supported this project through donations, but unfortunately these donations are less and less and less and less, and therefore I just cannot rely on donations, because take a look at this week, for example. I had one donation for a week. It was Monday or Tuesday. One donation through crypto in amount of about like $30, right? So full week of work and $30 donation. I'm truly grateful for that donation, but obviously no project can survive when in such financial situation, right? So therefore, it is absolutely crucial to do whatever it takes to promote my Patreon and Boosty pages, and hopefully communities will grow there, and I will have enough stability to be, focus on this project as much as I can. So this is when it comes to these changes, dear friends. Sorry for taking your time, but I have to explain all the changes that are incoming, right? So that being said, let's go through some news now. And well, first of all, of course, I will start with the Kursk salient area, where Kyiv regime yesterday launched yet another suicidal, relatively large-scale offensive operation. And during entire day yesterday, I was sharing on my Telegram and the Twitter X pages videos and additional information about destruction of armored columns of Kyiv regime, one after another. And let's go through some details now. Main direction of this yet another suicidal offensive of Kyiv regime was Ulanak settlement, Cherkasskaya Konopelka settlement, and Ulanak settlement. Waves of attacks were conducted by Kyiv regime's forces and the NATO mercenaries, but it seems to me that Russian side knew about this incoming attack. Russian intelligence were informed about it, potentially because Russian troops were just really organized to repel these attacks, and they destroyed dozens and dozens of armored vehicles of Kyiv regime and over 200 military personnel, right? This attack seems like was not surprised at all for Russian forces. And late evening yesterday, Russian Defense Ministry shared their update on developments in the Kursk salient area. And let me go through this news, dear friends. I guess it will be interesting to you too. So as of 2100 hours or 9 o'clock at evening, units of a Sever group of forces of the Russian Federation, Sever means north, so units of the North group of forces of the Russian Federation foiled an attempt to counterattack launched by their armed forces of Ukraine in the direction of Cherkasskaya Konopelka and Ulanak in the Kursk region. All attacks were repelled in this direction. From the morning of 6th of February, the armed forces of Ukraine launched 8 waves of attacks with their forces of up to 2 mechanized battalions on infantry fighting vehicles and armored fighting vehicles supported by tanks and counter-obstacle vehicles. The Ukrainian assault units were stopped by and defeated by soldiers of the 11th Separate Air Assault Brigade of the Russian Federation, also 810th Separate Marine Brigade, the veterans and their Arbat volunteer formations, as well as operators of drones from the Rubicon Center of Advanced Unmanned Technologies, the 40th Separate Marine Brigade, and the 177th Separate Marine Regiment, supported by aviation and artillery. Armed forces of Ukraine losses amounted to more than 200 troops and about 50 pieces of weapons and military equipment, to include 8 tanks, 5 infantry fighting vehicles, 1 armored personnel carrier, and 30 armored fighting vehicles, as well as 3 counter-obstacle vehicles and a bridge-laying vehicle and other equipment. Units of the Sever or North group of forces continue to mop up the enemy formations from areas where scattered groups of the enemy remain. So clearing operation basically is underway. And there yet again, let's look at the map. Attack was on a southern eastern direction of Kursk salient area, as I already said. This is Ulanak settlement, this is Cherkasskaya Konopelka, and according to latest reports, Cherkasskaya Konopelka settlement is still under Russian control, although settlement itself is in a gray zone now, encircled by a gray zone, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Russian units in this settlement will either withdraw towards Ulanak, or maybe Russian troops will conduct an offensive operation on their own now to reinforce, to conduct a finalized clearing operation around the Cherkasskaya Konopelka settlement and to reinforce a local garrison of the troops there. And maybe we will also witness further advances of the Russian armed forces in the Russkaya Konopelka direction, which is mainly controlled by Russian troops, but some part of it is in a gray zone. Also, Russian troops might advance in Komakov direction and Makhnovka, Dmitrikov directions. I'm saying so because if you remember, during the previous such a suicidal operation or suicidal offensive of Kyiv regime in direction of Berdin, Большое Soldatskaya, when Russian troops also destroyed these incoming columns of enemy forces, after that Russian troops actually conducted counter-offensive operations and significantly improved their positions, right? So something similar might happen in this area also, and we might see Russian offensive from Ulanak, Cherkasskaya, Konopelka areas, directions towards Suja. Obviously, although some channels, by the way, on internet are still reporting about potential continuation of Kyiv regime's assault operations during the day today, even though I don't see how this might happen after yesterday's catastrophic defeat I think Kyiv regime will struggle to find another couple of hundreds of you know suicidal individuals among grouping of forces that Kyiv regime has in Suja district. Although anything is possible, They might force another battalion or two to commit suicide and launch offensive operations, but I am skeptical of that. Same time, by the way, all day yesterday, reports were coming in about activization of Kyiv troops on the western flank of Kursk salient area in direction of Kruglinka settlement. There was a artillery preparation that Kyiv regime conducted by bombing this settlement and surrounding areas. According to some reports, Kyiv regime's forces even tried a couple of times to advance in direction of settlement, but were repelled, and after taking some severe losses, stopped their activities. Let's see what kind of developments will take place today, but it is possible that some sort of activities will be reported still from this northern part of Kursk salient area. And this is it when it comes to this direction. Kyiv regime, for no reason at all, no objective reason at all, sacrificed another couple of hundreds of its military personnel. And one may ask, yes, but why? Why Kyiv regime is doing that? And everyone has its own opinion, obviously, and I can tell you my opinion. As we all know, dear friends, next week there will be security conference in Munich, right? Munich Security Conference, or the gathering of the all sorts of politicians, public figures from the West and around the world, I guess, also. And in this gathering, there will be people from backers of Kyiv regime, right? Sponsors of the Kyiv regime. And I think Zelensky and his backers wanted to have something positive to talk about during that conference. They launched this offensive operation, even though it's a local scale. But if Kyiv regime would achieve success, if Kyiv regime's forces manage to establish control over their Ulanak settlement, or move even further than that, obviously they will make from this some big story about some immense success of Kyiv regime and that kind of crap, right? And they will, at least that's how they will present this in that Munich conference. They might even try, by the way. They still might try to do so, despite total annihilation of Kyiv regime's forces that were participating in this attack. So that's the main reasoning. I guess NATO backers of the Zelensky and Zelensky himself wanted to have something to talk about in that Munich conference. And secondary reason might be that we all know about low morale among Kyiv regime's forces, right? Even Western propaganda outlets are now reporting about it. And it is a similar situation when it comes to residents of Kyiv-controlled territory. And therefore, Zelensky and his associates could use this operation, if it was successful, as a propaganda mean to boost morale, right, among its supporters or whatever. But yet again, they failed miserably, and therefore, I don't know. They can try to present this failure as a big success, but who would believe them? I don't know. Anyway, this is it when it comes to Kursk salient area, dear friends. Initiative is in Russian hands, and I really don't believe that Kyiv regime has or its NATO backers have realistic chances to regain initiative in the Kursk salient area or anywhere else on the line of hostilities, right? When it comes to other sectors, by the way, we have an update that Russian armed forces liberated settlement of Figolevka. This is western bank of Oskol River on the northern flank of Kupiansk. Significant progress of the Russian troops and their entire Russian bridgehead on the western bank of on the right bank, let's say, on the right bank of Oskol River is getting more and more significant, by the way, and it looks like something big is about to happen in this direction. Kyiv regime's forces are just unable, absolutely unable to stop Russian advances in this area. And also we had an update that Russian armed forces established control over the Dachna settlement in Andreevka, in Andreevka stronghold that Kyiv regime has. This is Dachna settlement, by the way. And Russian troops are now closing in to Ulakli settlement, and Russian troops were improving positions in Andreevka settlement itself. Almost half of it which is in a gray zone now or disputed between the sides, and I guess it will not take long before Russian troops will cut off enter this artillery pocket before Russian troops will basically enter Ulakli and cut off Kyiv regime's troops in this fortified area between Dachna and Ulakli, and there are several hundred to several thousand Kyiv regime troops may end up in a complete encirclement. And obviously Russian troops are closing in to Constantinople also. At this point, Zelenovka, Razliv settlements are on the line of contact, but main direction of Russian assault obviously is Andreevka, Constantinople settlements. In any case, progress, significant progress, I will say, on local scale, but significant progress of the Russian armed forces in southern flank of Pokrovsk sector also. And this is it when it comes to a short summary of the situation on in the zone of special military operation and the counter-terrorist operation. Let's go through some other news now. And first of all, this report from TASS news agency that Kyiv's chances of getting nuclear weapons is slim and known, according to Trump's special envoy, Kellogg, special envoy into Ukraine and Russia. So the Kyiv government's chances of getting nuclear weapons are between slim and none. Kellogg, the US president, special envoy to Ukraine and Russia, has told the Fox News, and then quote, the chances of them getting their nuclear weapons back is somewhere between slim and none. He said, let's be honest about it. We both know that's not going to happen. And yes, we all know. Everybody knows that in no circumstances, Kyiv regime will receive back whatever it calls its own nuclear weapons. And by the way, once again, I want to focus your attention on not just what Kellogg said, but how he said it, right? Look at the sentencing here, wording. The chances of them getting their nuclear weapons back is somewhere between slim and none. By saying so, Kellogg is suggesting that Kyiv regime somehow, some time ago, had some nuclear weapons that it gave up. We all know this is the narrative that Kyiv regime is pushing and Western propaganda, Western so-called elites are pushing, right? Which is completely false. Kyiv regime, Ukraine, never had their nuclear weapons. Soviet Union had, right? All the nuclear weapons on the entire territory of Soviet Union was Soviet weapons, and these Soviet nuclear weapons become Russian nuclear weapons, where the Soviet Union collapsed because Russia is recognized internationally as the only successor, legit successor of the Soviet Union. And this is not disputed, by the way, by anybody, right? And that's why Russia is a permanent member of the UN. Once Soviet Union collapsed, Russia took over the permanent membership in UN Security Council as the only legit successor of Soviet Union. So therefore, Ukraine never ever had their nukes. It was a Russian nukes that Russia took back on its territory, right? But question is why Kellogg, official representative of Trump in Ukraine and Russia, is also pushing this false narrative. As I said, it's not about what he said. It's about how he said it, right? So yes, he is saying that chances that Kyiv regime will gain back its nukes is slim to none. But why you are saying that, why you are uh, wording your sentences this way? Is if Kyiv regime ever had any nukes to receive it back? And I tell you why, dear friends. Kellogg obviously is and the entire Trump's administration, by the way, maybe with a few exceptions, but we will find out that also. I think Kellogg is wording has everything to do with the next phase of escalation between West and Russia, which is going to be transformation of Kyiv regime into a nuclear armed regime. In my reading of the big picture, that's exactly what Western ruling class is planning. And that's why Western officials, Western propaganda, time after time, almost on daily basis, pushing this narrative that some time ago Kyiv was a nuclear regime, Ukraine has nuclear weapons, and in Ukraine there is a plenty of radioactive materials that is enough to create an atomic bomb and all that kind of stuff, by the way. This is a creation of the narrative, yet another narrative based on which Western ruling class then will implement policies, right? They are preparing public in the West also for this transformation of the Kyiv regime into a nuclear armed regime, right? And they will say, you know what? They used to have nukes. They give up these nukes, even though this is a false information, but that's what they will say. That's what Kellogg is saying, right? And well, now Kyiv regime built its own nukes, and well, what we can do about it? I mean, they used to have nukes, right? And they have it now also. Okay, I mean, we have to live with this. That's what they want, by the way. And obviously, Western ruling class already is using nuclear blackmail against Russia. All these talks about nuclear Ukraine, Ukraine's potential to become nuclear, and the rest of it is nothing else but blackmail of Russia, attempt to blackmail Russia. That's what it is, right? And hopefully, Russian leadership will take whatever steps are necessary to make sure that not just this blackmail will not work, but to make sure that Kyiv regime will never actually get any nukes. And technically speaking, unfortunately, it is true that there is so much volume of radioactive isotopes in Kyiv-controlled territory due to active work of many nuclear reactors for decades and decades that with their Western assistance, yes, Kyiv regime can actually build the dirty bombs. Not on its own, but with Western assistance, it can, right? And so I hope Moscow will take whatever steps are necessary to make sure that Kyiv regime never become nuclear armed regime, because it's I mean, threat to safety of the Russian citizens on unprecedented scale, right? Kyiv regime already demonstrated its terrorist nature, its Nazi terrorist nature, and I don't think they will hesitate to start dropping nuclear bombs whenever they can on Russian territory, or wherever they can on Russian territory, if they are allowed to have any nukes at all. So therefore, once again, I have to go back to my reading of big picture. I think we are about to witness unprecedented scale of escalation between West and Russia, because Moscow don't really have any other option but to strike back on Western elites, Western so-called elites, and the Western ruling class, strike back with such a force that Western ruling class will finally realize that yes, it is time to de-escalate, because any further escalation would mean end of everything. We are getting very, very close to that point. Maybe just weeks away. And when it comes to Kellogg, according to media reports here in Russia and in the West, Kellogg will present Trump's peace plan in Munich conference, security conference next week. This was initial reporting. Vzglyad newspaper, for example, also reporting about it. But later on, Western propaganda outlets start downgrading the matter and pushing new narrative that Kellogg is not planning to present any plans for the escalation. He might just highlight certain directions. But experts, by the way, as far as I can tell, are on the same page when it comes to approach that Trump's administration will have. They will escalate. They will try to act as a bullies with Russia too. There is already a number of indicators of that, and I guess Kellogg will present some ideas in Munich that are absolutely non-starters, and he will do this then to blame Russia for absence of progress in terms of the escalation, and that yet again false narrative created by West will be used for a next level of escalation. Dear friends, yesterday or the day before, I saw reports that US started operating its intelligence planes over the Black Sea, over the northern parts of Black Sea, manned planes. Usually it was US drones, isn't it? But now US is actually using manned aircraft to gather some intelligence, to potentially participate and organize large-scale missile and drone strikes on Russian territory. And I think maybe before Munich conference, or potentially a few days after Munich conference, Russia may witness unprecedented scale of drone and missile strikes, long-range drone and missile strikes, and that will be a message from Washington, attempt to force Russia to obey orders, and I guess at that point, Moscow will have no option but to retaliate in such a manner that not just Western ruling class will be shocked, but potentially entire world, because at this point, I guess very few expects really strong steps from Russia in regards to NATO aggression and NATO aggressors, US, UK, France, rest of them. I guess they really believe in their yet another false narrative that Putin is bluffing, Russia is bluffing, they will do nothing and that kind of crap. I guess they really believe in that nonsense, right? And they're gonna get shocked, by the way, because I'm telling you, we are just potentially a couple of days away, maybe a couple of weeks away, before Russia will finally retaliate to not just to Kyiv regime, and will strike not just Kyiv regime and Kyiv enemy assets on Kyiv controlled territory, but elsewhere too. That's what is going to happen. And Trump and his inner circle, they're gonna lose big time if they think they're gonna threaten Russia. They're gonna act against Russia as some sort of bullies. Okay, try. Right. They're gonna have a reality check very soon. Very soon, by the way, and they're not gonna like it. They are not ready for what is coming, by the way, I can tell you that. Anyways, let's continue, and obviously, Russian officials time after time are forced to react on certain developments in the West. And for example, Moscow once again reiterated that temporarily Ukraine ceasefire is absolutely unacceptable. Yet again, as I already said, Kellogg might present some ideas from a so-called peace plan, or maybe peace plan itself, but everyone understands that these ideas or proposals will be non-starters, because topics that were discussed is a freezing of the conflict, the deployment of NATO troops disguised as a sort of peacekeepers, delaying of Ukraine's accession to NATO for 15, 20, 25 years. None of it makes any sense for Russia, right? None of it does makes any sense for Russia. And even though Russian leadership was very clear on that this is unacceptable, due to developments in the West, Russian officials are forced to reiterate themselves time after time and repeat very same stuff, that temporary ceasefire is unacceptable. NATO troops are disguised in any format, by the way, disguised as a peacekeepers or aliens or whatever, unacceptable. And Ukrainian NATO unacceptable forever, right? Forever unacceptable. Anyways, let's go through this news here. Russia will not accept a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine, since it will only be used by the collective West to reinforce Kyiv until hostilities break out again. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has stated, Moscow is seeking only a lasting solution which will put an end to ongoing crisis, Zakharova relayed on Thursday during a regular press briefing. And then, quote, temporary ceasefire, or as many say, freezing the conflict, is unacceptable. She stressed, we need a reliable, legally binding agreements and mechanisms that would guarantee that the crisis will not reoccur. Zakharova warned that mere pause in the fighting will be used by the West, the collective West as a whole, or its individual representatives, to strengthen the military potential of the Kyiv regime and, of course, to attempt armed revenge. She warned. Moscow maintains a reserved position on the repelled pledges by the administration of the US President Donald Trump to bring the conflict to an end. Zakharova signaled everything will depend on specific actions and on the plans of the new administration embedded in these very actions. Right now, there are a lot of words, a lot of statements. There is no clarity or precision regarding the steps being taken, Zakharova explained. So yes, this is Russian position. No changes here, and I don't expect any changes to happen in this regard, because obviously we all understand any pause in hostilities will be used by Western ruling class to reinforce, reorganize Kyiv regime, and then to use against Russia again as a proxy, right? So it's a non-starter. So it's just non-starter. And meanwhile, Kremlin once again stated that Russia and US not yet are discussing Putin-Trump meeting. Moscow and Washington have not yet started discussing possible meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and his US counterpart Donald Trump. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told the CNN they have, and then quote, they have not had any initial contact to discuss whether they need to meet or not, and if they need, when and how. He said. Peskov also advised CNN journalists not to hurry. So that's when it comes to potential face-to-face meeting between Trump and Putin. I think there will be no such a meeting, at least in 2025. I'm skeptical that two presidents will meet this year. It is a possibility, but because I expect some unprecedented scale of escalation in upcoming days and weeks, after which several months will at least will be needed for the Western class to come to their senses, to be able to, for at least for themselves, formulate any position, because things gonna change big time. So therefore, maybe towards end of this year, in autumn, some meeting may be arranged between Putin and Trump. Late summer, maybe, but yet again, I'm skeptical of that. I don't know. We will find out. We will find out. And when it comes to Ukrainian crisis, we have this report from Vzгляд newspaper that, well, French Mirage 2000 fighter jets are already in hands of Kyiv regime, formally in hands of Kyiv regime. In reality, obviously, NATO will operate these planes as they do with the F-16s, right? So Ukrainian pilots already undergo training, according to Defense Minister of France, Sébastien Lecornu. And these pilots are in Ukraine, and the Mirage 2000s also already been delivered. First batch of these planes at least. And according to earlier reports, initial reports were that France plans to transfer 6 Mirage 2000s to Kyiv regime. Then reports were that France increased this number to 12, then 16. Well, I guess only few people know exact number, but at least first batch of these planes have been delivered. And simultaneously, yesterday, Defense Minister of so-called Ukraine, Umerov, stated that Netherlands transfer some F-16s too, formally to Ukraine. In reality, obviously, all these Mirage planes, F-16 planes, will be operated by NATO under strict control of NATO. That's how it's going to be. And even though some experts, military experts, think these planes will be used mainly for air defense purposes, to shut down Russian drones, Russian missiles, I think this is a big danger. This is a big danger because both planes, by the way, F-16 and Mirage 2000s, are potentially nuclear carriers. They are nuclear carrier planes. And it is a danger, right? Russian Defense Ministry itself was saying earlier that if F-16s were delivered, Russia might take some actions because these are nuclear carrier planes. I don't know what changed in Russian Defense Ministry's calculus, because F-16s already are formally in Kyiv regime's hands, and now Mirage 2000s also. But I did not see any Russian strikes on Romania, on military bases in Romania, from where most likely these planes are operating and will operate. I don't see any strikes, Russian strikes on US military assets in Poland or Romania or elsewhere in Europe. Ramstein, by the way, greater target, isn't it? It's hard to miss. Why Ramstein is not obliterated by now? Who knows? You tell me. I've been ironic, obviously. I'm not calling for Third World War, but I'm just wondering what high-ranking Russian officials mean when they are saying that some strong steps will be taken if this will happen and that. At least what they meant previously. Now, I am quite sure Moscow don't really has any option but to escalate. Not to escalate, but to react on Western escalation. And to react strongly, which was never done before. And Moscow will retaliate. Moscow will retaliate finally, and everyone will realize that they are dealing with their superpower here, not a banana republic. Just wait for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, and their Western ruling class will be forced to come to their senses. You know, But anyways, this is the news. If previously Kyiv regime formerly Kyiv regime had just F-16s, now they will operate with Mirage 2000 planes also. And before I continue, let me notice that this project is completely subscriber funded. And if you like to support my work, this project, you can do it through several means. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And the TASS News Agency's report here that Tzahal, or IDF, Israeli Defense Force, conducted strikes formally on Hezbollah positions on south and east of Lebanon. I shared video of these strikes on my Telegram and Twitter X page if you are interested. Also, according to RT, Israel wants European nations to take displaced Palestinians. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has instructed the Israel Defense Force to prepare a plan to encourage Palestinians to emigrate from Gaza, according to a post he made on X on Thursday. The minister also suggested that the refugees should be taken by European countries that oppose West Jerusalem's military actions in enclave. Katz said that it would never there historically it will reveal their hypocrisy if these nations decline to accept Gazans. It follows US President Donald Trump's remarks on Tuesday that the US would take over the Gaza Strip and take charge of reconstruction. He added that Palestinians living there should live to be provided for by neighboring countries of great wealth. Okay, we all know about Trump's statements, by the way. European states, number of states reacted actually on this statement of Defense Minister of Israel, and they condemn once again actions of Israel in regards to Palestine, and they said that Gaza Strip is a land of people that live there, and they should be able to continue living in their homeland without being forced out by anybody. Meanwhile, TASS News Agency is reporting that White House is trying to clarify at least little bit statements of Trump. So US won't send troops to Gaza or bankroll its rebuilding. That's what White House is saying now. US President Donald Trump's administration has already started discussing with its Middle East partners the idea of rebuilding Gaza. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, and then quote, "That's again why the American people elected him, Trump, because he has a different perspective to their foreign policy challenges that have been plaguing our world for many years. And so this is a great idea, and our partners in the region have begun to discuss it with this administration. We have the King of Bahrain coming to the White House next week, and the president has spoken to many of our partners and allies in the Middle East about this opportunity in Gaza," she said in an interview with the Fox News. The president, the US does not plan to send troops to Gaza or finance its rebuilding, Leavitt added. So she's praising Trump for calling for ethnic cleansing. She's a press spokesman of Trump. So, I mean, if she had any dignity, decency, she would resign straight away. She would never, ever try to defend these outrageous statements of Trump, right? But, you know, dignity and decency in US so-called elites. Come on, man. They don't even know what these words mean, by the way. So yes, they are trying to downgrade now statements of Trump. It's sad to watch. It's really sad to watch what is happening in the West nowadays, especially among supporters of Trump, and including in so-called alternative media. By the way, it's just disgusting. It's just disgusting that many people that were positioning themselves as a good human beings, or people that have some principles, dignity, those people are now defending this absolutely crazy, criminal, actually, statements of U.S. president in regards to Palestinians and ethnic cleansing there. It's outrageous, but it's just, I don't know, it's sad. Level of degradation of political class in the West, in the US, in this particular case, is such that I don't think they can recover. I really don't think they can recover, by the way. US is finished. Mark my word. US, as we know it, is finished. System that is built there will never ever allow decent people to be to become to reach position of power. No way. That's what it is. And this person, Defense Secretary of US, what is his name? Pete Hegseth, also spoke about these statements of Trump, another despicable individual, by the way. Let's be clear, anybody that supports ethnic cleansing is despicable individual, and that's about it. As I said there in previous updates, this attempt to justify Trump's statements that, you cannot expect any progress if you are doing same stuff every time and failing. Something new has to be done. What about forcing Israel to withdraw, to demolish Israelis illegal, by the way, settlements in the West Bank, and take back illegal settlers, European basically settlers? What about that? Let's try this. And what about Israel starts acting as a civilized country? Did we ever try that? What if? What about denazifying and demilitarizing Israel? Did we ever try that? Israel is a fascist state. Israel is an apartheid fascist state. I know YouTube's algorithm not gonna like it, but I don't give a fuck about YouTube's algorithm, YouTube, Google, Israel, and everybody that supports ethnic cleansing, because they are despicable individuals. As this garbage, Pete Hegseth, or whatever his dirty freaking name is, and he said that US is a very long way away from deploying troops in Gaza. US President Donald Trump is a long way off from deploying American soldiers to Gaza, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said. On Tuesday, President Donald... Okay, we all know this bullshit, by the way. Fuck him all, right? As simple as that. Just fuck him all. It's disgusting. It's just disgusting what our US has become. And I'm being real, by the way. You want real, honest opinion? That's it. It's just disgusting what US has become. RT is reporting that Trump sanctions ICC. Okay, ICC itself is a disgraceful organization. I can agree on that, right? ICC issued an arrest warrant for a Russian president and Russian ombudsman. Russian child's ombudsman, because they save childs from zone of in zone of hostilities, right? In zone of special military operation, kids were evacuated to save their lives, and for this, ICC issued the arrest warrant against Russian president and their ombudsman, child's ombudsman. And once this happened, I never had any respect for this organization for many reasons until that. But after that, obviously, I have no care. I don't care, man, about ICC. I don't give a damn about these so-called judges and the prosecutors. They all are garbage, right? So therefore, I'm not going to defend ICC, but what about double standards on part of US? I never heard anybody in US protesting when ICC issued arrest warrant against Russian president. There was applause, actually. They were praising ICC in US, right? Very same people that are now praising Trump for imposing sanctions on ICC. Am I correct? Am I correct? So that's the only issue I have with this decision, that Trump's actions just demonstrate once again how false and fake all of them are in the West, right? In so-called Western elites. Absolutely fake and disgusting. That's it. So ICC's staff, so-called judges, prosecutors, whatever they are, will face some visa restrictions, some minor sanctions from US. This is also just yet another step from Trump to demonstrate how important Israel is for US political class. Okay, we all get that Trump's administration is all about make Israel great again. We all get that. Okay. Trump may go to Israel and kiss feet of Netanyahu. I mean, would anybody be surprised by this? It's disgrace. It's just total disgrace. And I did not expect Trump to act this poorly, really. I mean, this disgracefully. I never had a good, some high expectations from him, but I truly did not expect that he would act this poorly. And I feel sorry for his supporters, by the way. I really do. Many people in US connected their hope to this person and his presidency, and these people are now, I guess, many of them, maybe not all of them, definitely not all of them, because there is attempts to justify whatever nonsense Trump is saying and doing, and his team. But very many people actually struggling now, including in our field of alternative media, by the way. There's examples of that, isn't it? There are people that are struggling to, make sense of everything that is happening, and to continue support of Trump and his team, because it's a moral issue, right? If you are a good human being, you just never ever can be in support of genocide. You can never ever be in support of ethnic cleansing, and you can never ever be in support of politicians in your country that are actually serving interests of other country. And what Trump demonstrated is that for him, it's not about MAGA, it's about meager. It's about make Israel great again. And it will cost US dearly, but it will cost US dearly. I mean, it's sad to see what this once upon a time country with a great potential has become. US. Anyways, let's continue. I've been a little emotional. maybe, but anyways, this is my show, and if you want real talk, you're welcome. Without any, I'm not gonna play some games here, man. If I think something is good, I will say it. If I think something is bad, I will also say it. RIA Novosti is reporting that Bolsonaro, former president of Brazil, is promising that if he will regain power in country, he will remove Brazil from BRICS. This might happen. If you ask me which country may leave BRICS, I will tell you most likely Brazil, because we all see how US is behaving, isn't it? It's a failing empire that not yet realized that it's failing. But because it can no longer stand strong on its feet, it's become more and more aggressive. It's just what happens always historically with empires. And fail of empire is always connected with some dramatic developments in the world. And therefore, even though US is failing as an empire, at this point they have enough force to intervene in many countries' internal affairs, including in Brazil. And I almost sure that they will put their puppets in the government of Brazil as soon as possible. It might be Bolsonaro or someone else, who cares really, but eventually probably Brazil would not be able to withstand aggression from US, and they will cave in. So US will have its puppets in the government, and Brazil will leave BRICS. This is going to happen most likely. I just don't see how people of Brazil can withstand, how people of Brazil can maintain control over their country. I don't think Brazilian political class is about sovereignty of Brazil and independence and national interests first of all. Anyways, let's continue. Rubio, another human scam. Marco Rubio stating that he would not visit G20 meetings. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said he will not attend the meeting of G20 group in South Africa later this month because Pretoria is doing very bad things. Okay. South Africa is also under heavy pressure, but probably South Africa has much more chances to withstand pressure from Western ruling class, from US, than Brazil. It may not look like that on the surface, but I think South Africa has much more strong core than Brazil does. We will find out. So, okay, who cares, man? Who cares if failing empire will be represented on G20 or not? Just who cares? I mean, I read this news, okay, I'm sharing this news because Rubio is head of State Department of US, right? But do anybody in our community cares about what Rubio will do or not? I mean, no one cares. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that quite interesting experiment was done with the chat GPT and DeepSeek. And let me read you this information, dear friends. You might find it interesting too. So The decline of confidence in the US financial system, as well as the growing stability of alternative currencies, will help reduce the dollar's influence on the global financial system. However, complete rejection of American money is possible only in the future of 50 years, follows from the responses of Chinese neural network DeepSeek and their American GPT in response to a request from Vzгляд newspaper. So Vzгляд, this newspaper, by the way, tested these two AIs, and they come up with somewhat similar answer that well, de-dollarization is unstoppable, but complete annihilation of dollar from as a world reserve currency will take time, approximately 50 years. I still find it difficult to believe that dollar will completely lose its relevance on world financial markets. It might happen, but to lose the relevance completely, even in 50 years time, I don't know. I find it difficult to believe in that, but I'm 100% convinced that the dollarization is unstoppable, and in a couple of decades time, world will have at least couple of alternatives from BRICS, from multipolar world, basically, and there will be also US dollar, pound, euro, if European Union survives this long. So dollar would not be main reserve currency for sure, but to lose relevance completely in 50 years time, I don't know. I'm not that sure, but who am I to challenge AIs, by the way, that are operating with basically all the information that is available, right? So maybe DeepSeek and ChatGPT have a point. And when it comes to process of de-dollarization, as I said, it's unstoppable. And for example, we have this report that Moscow and Addis Ababa are beginning to trade in national currencies. So agreement being reached between Russia and Ethiopia to take this step, to take cooperation step closer to strategical partnership, and their trade between the two will be conducted in national currencies. Good news, I will say, for both countries. Why not? Really? Why should any country be dependent on currencies of other countries? Dollar, pound, euro, or whatever. Countries should be able to trade in national currencies, especially when currencies are stable and risks are minimal. There is always risks, right? Exchange rate is not constant. It changes on daily basis a little bit, but when we are talking about some big sums, this little bit may be very significant. But anyways, some insurance policies will be in place, I guess, during these trades, and eventually more and more countries, I guess, will choose this direction to trade in national currencies, at least until BRICS will come up with its own world reserve currency. And this will happen one way or another, but we will see major alternative for a dollar in upcoming years, most likely. And this is it for now. Relatively long update, but hopefully you will find it interesting, informative, useful. I was a little emotional time to time, but these emotions also shows, dear friends, sort of frustration really with everything that's happening in this world, right? We all are humans, and why should I pretend that nothing influenced me? Of course, I'm a human, and certain developments influence me too, obviously. And why should I play? I'm not an actor, right? But anyways, if anybody was not happy to see emotions on my part. I can apologize for that. It was not my intention to make anybody's mood bad, but I hope you know it's okay to be real, at least for our community. Anyways, dear friends, this is it for now. Click that like button if you can. Leave some commentary, share video or information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet. And if you want to support, you can do it. All the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. I'm not sure if I will work tomorrow. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll take day off. I don't know yet. But in any ways, have a wonderful day and a great upcoming weekend. Thank you for your attention.